Let's face it, Seiko went downhill after this. It is 5:02 p.m. Let's get down to business. $38mm, 45.8mm lug-to-lug, 12.1mm thick, powered by a Seiko 6R15 23 joule automatic movement. You're getting some shock resistance, you're getting a 200-meter water resistance rating, a power reserve of 50 hours, a beat frequency of 21,600 BPH, functions, hacking seconds, and manual wind. You're getting a date complication and a lug width of 20mm. I'm speaking of none other than the Seiko Sarbo 17 Alpinist. So this watch, the Sarbo 17 Alpinist, came out in 2007, so I was not yet the time teller here on YouTube, and it was well loved, right? It was received very, very well for its versatility. I mean, you could wear it on a oyster bracelet. I don't think that they can use the word oyster anymore if you're not Rolex, but you could put it on a bracelet and it wore quite nicely. You could put it on a leather strap and dress it up a bit. You could put it on something like this, a nylon or NATO, I don't think we can say that either, and make it more like a field watchy type watch. It was just a do-anything kind of watch, especially with its threaded crown and 200-meter water resistance rating. This was one tough cookie. Its dimensions were another reason that people absolutely loved this watch. It was just supremely wearable at the sub 40mm range. And again, this case kind of wears like an oyster case, so it's much bigger than it lists on paper. And it was very well hated for, I guess, a green dial. That's kind of the only thing that people say negatively about it, is that, oh, the green, it doesn't go with my handbag, or whatever they complain about. I think the green is awesome and it's much more versatile than people give it credit for, but yeah, the haters, all they can complain about is the green dial, I guess. But this watch really didn't take off until 2018, and it's a shame, because in 2018 it was announced that this Sarbo 17 Alpinist would be discontinued. It's funny because, you know, the old adage, you don't know what you got till it's gone, really rings true with this watch. It feels like a bunch of watch enthusiasts, myself included, really started, just speaking waxingly, just lovingly about this Alpinist, saying, oh, it's so versatile, it's so beautiful, it's tough, it's blah, 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 blah. And we only really cared once it was announced that it was being discontinued. It's like people didn't want to truly appreciate this watch for how incredible it was until we were forced to consider living life without one. So how was this Sarbo 17 the end for Seiko as we knew it? Well, we're going to get into that right now. So jumping back to the beginning of this episode, how is the Sarbo 17 a watch that signaled the downfall for Seiko as we knew it? Well, when this died, Seiko died along with it. No more bang per buck, no more supreme versatility, no more heavy hitters under the $1,000 range. It seems like the people's champion days of Seiko were long gone. Now, to Seiko's credit, they did bring back the Alpinist, but it was under a different dial, under a different series. I mean, they now signed it Pro Specs. It had a different movement that people argue is an upgrade, and some other people argue it's a downgrade, and it had a display case back. But you're losing the really nice engraved case back on this one, showing the Alpinist signage with the cool mountain range. And yeah, it came out twice the price of this one for no real upgrades. And again, this one used to be able to get brand new for 375 US buckaroos. So why the heck were they releasing one at 750 plus? And then came the fall of everything else. You know, the Sarbo 6.5 Cocktail Time, that was gone, and then they kind of made it return with a Presage signage dial and then a bunch of other Presage watches. Then gone went the SKX, right? Probably one of the most prolific entryways to the watch world as a whole. Yeah, they axed that one, and then they brought in the neutered 5KX dive style watch with no ISO rating, no threaded crown, and a 100-meter water resistance rating with an ugly dial with the Seiko 5 logo. It's a toy. And this is another example of Seiko downgrading a watch, but upgrading the price tag. Less watch, more money. After the Sarbo 17 went away, that's Seiko's MO. And I'm gonna give Seiko some credit here. I mean, we do see pro spec watches with some pretty nice finishing and insane technology, and there's Presage watches with some insane finishing and crazy technology. I mean, there's the Prospex LX and the Presage line that now has spring drive movements, but the truth is, that's not really Seiko being a heavy hitter at an affordable price range, because that technology is like relegated to the $5,000 plus range of Seikos. So it's not like you're gonna find sub $1,000 Seiko that you're interested in with a spring drive movement. It's just not happening. So now when we're looking at Grand Seikos, well, those have moved even further up on the food chain. It's just, you know, those are way more expensive than they used to be. So why did all of this happen? Well, money, right? Easy answer. Seiko is a business. Seiko knew that restructuring their catalog would more easily define their various product lines and usher in a wave of price increases across the board. So they got rid of this, they got rid of some other Seiko heavy hitters, brought them back at a more expensive price range, and they downgraded a lot of them, in my opinion. I mean, objectively so, with the 5KX. So I will always love Seiko. They have a special place in my heart, but I'm no longer in love with Seiko, and I'm officially saying they're no longer my top 2 favorite watchmaker. You know, it used to be like, ooh, I really loved Rolex, and I really loved Seiko. When I first started the channel, I said those were my top 2. It's funny because Rolex and Seiko, they're not my top 2 nearly. And so I wanted to make this episode not only to give you my opinion and my assessment on where Seiko is nowadays, but I also wanted to let you know that your interests kind of change as you develop and mature and learn more and garner more perspective within the hobby. It's very rare that you stay the same, right? The more you learn, the more you experience, the more you see, the more you're interested in other things. So for me, you know, Cartier is at the top of my list now. They're crazy with the Mystérieuse watch and these just incredible feats of insane watchmaking. JLC is another one. Vacheron I absolutely love. So Rolex, I love vintage Rolexes. Seiko, I love the Seikos that the Seikos of days past. They're not vintage, but they're not the current Seikos. And again, I'm gonna finish this up by saying, if you see a Seiko watch that Seiko is advertising currently, and it's interesting to you, it is almost always going to be limited edition and or $1,000 or over. So keep that in mind, guys. There are other watchmakers, specifically micro brands, and maybe even people like Orient, that are filling in the bang per buck area that Seiko used to chill in. But yeah, Seiko is no longer the people's champion, in my opinion. But leave me a comment and let me know what you think. All right, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman. At the Time Teller, always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it. This is going nowhere. Seiko may have gotten rid of it. I'm keeping it. We dab here at the end. And anytime, there better be hit markers. Hit marker, hit marker, hit marker.